Well, thanks everyone for coming today, and really excited to share this little trick. I'm just wondering how many people here have ever used cut openings. It's a plugin by a firm formerly called AgaCAD. They're now called Arcants. They're based out of Lithuania. They do all kinds of great tools for framing, for wood frame construction, steel construction, concrete. And then they have a couple of freebies that are a nice little incentive. So I really wanted to focus on using a free add-in because we have so many extra tools and they end up costing a lot of money over time. And how many times, if you can't get a floating license, to share with your team, it can add up to a lot. So I wanted to show this tool that I've used in a few different contexts and but also just to start off with a normal sort of coordination interference check based in Revit to show the difference. So, okay, let's see if this works now. There you go. Yeah, so sanity savers, all of the things that we have to do repetitively that can be challenging. So do we want to use the interference check in Revit or do we want to use the cut openings free version? So let's take a look at the Revit version first. So before you do an interference check, I think it's a great idea to set up some views. So create views and view templates. So create a few 3D views. So I typically, for example, like to do a framing with HVAC view and walls and ceilings with HVAC view. So get that ready before you do your interference check. And then you can see what's coming down the pipe. So now when we get into Revit, interference check is built in. So do people here use interference check as that's part of the process? I find sometimes when we're coordinating, it's one of the things that there's never enough time for. So trying to build time in is great, and maybe this will get us there. So I'll just push play on the little video with the steps. So basically you go to the collaborate tab, the coordinate panel, select interference check, and there you see the settings. On one side, you can choose the elements that you want to compare to other elements that might be causing a clash. And so you select all of these and determine you can focus it, specifically just to structural and HVAC if you want, or you can do everything all at once and see what happens. And then once that's set up, you hit OK to run, and you instantly get a return of information. It will show you all of the list of the different elements and where they're clashing and why. What we don't see there is when you do that list, it creates a list by category, but it doesn't actually show you how many clashes there are in this list. You have to go to that export button at the bottom and export to HTML. So why? I don't know. You have to actually leave Revit to go look at an HTML file that tells you you have 33 clashes. It's a bit of a disconnect. So that's why this tool could be interesting. So maybe before we look at the tool, there's some things that we can do. Some of the obvious things like check your geometry, make sure it's located correctly before going to the cut openings function. So obviously in this case, the lintels should not be cut through with duct openings there. Those lintels need to be in the floor system. Obviously structural would never do that, but for people who work on Part 9 projects, there could be some give and take there. Once you've done, the things that you can do, and the majority of this is to initiate conversations with trades, so we can coordinate. What we want to do is take a look at the tools for Revit. So the Arcants tool, T4R means tools for Revit. It's available for Revit 2023, 2024, and 2025. They only have the paid version available in 2026 right now. So I did this in 2024. So once you download the install from Arcants, you have to do a couple of steps. It takes you to a doc, and on that doc you see all of their products there, which is great. So there is one called Cut Opening, the cut opening option allows you to coordinate between your model and linked models. The free version will only let you look at what's in your own model. So that's the limitation, but there are workarounds. So once that is set up, we can then go to the T4R panel, which is up on the ribbon there, and go into the insert openings dialog. So the insert openings dialog acts almost exactly like the interference check we just did. So you go to the clash button, it opens up the settings dialog, but it's much smarter. It shows that one side is the hosted elements and one side is the cutting elements. It already has them sorted properly. And then you can customize it further to select what you do and don't want to select. Once that's done, you just simply hit find clashes, and it will show you all the clashes. It gives you the total. It's telling us that there's 13 clashes in this. You don't have to leave to find out how many or count manually. Obviously, on big projects, there can be a huge list there, right? So that's right up front. It also lets you know if you have round openings or rectangular openings, and then there's a default for setting your tolerance there. You could go in and manually, or you could go in and set that up front, or you can go back afterwards and individually access the opening. So the last function that just happened there, I'm talking slower than the video, was just to hit insert openings. So based on what all of those settings were, we've now officially inserted openings around all of the ductwork that was clashing with the walls and ceilings. So if I go to this next video and zoom in, I selected the solid family. It's a generic model family. So basically it's giving us a representation of where all of those holes are. And we have access to all of the information in the property. So we can change from a solid opening to a void opening. And then you can actually reconfigure what the offset tolerance is. So obviously for electrical and mechanical, you have different requirements for the size of opening and also for the type of opening. You know, round ducts still might need a rectangular opening. So you have the option to modify those either individually or as a group. So here, for example, this one through the ceiling plate, let's say you don't want a tolerance, you just want it to be 0, it will take it down to the size of the pipe, and then you can switch it from a solid to a void, and it just shows the cut opening. So you have this to manipulate after. Likewise, that void can be turned into a solid, and then you could, select a group. So right now I'm selecting all of the remaining round openings. There's 11 instances, and I can now change that offset from 1 inch to ½ inch, and we'll change it to all of them. And then I also want to just change it from solid to void again. So we've got some different stuff going on here. And when I showed this to Vance earlier, the first thing he said is, oh, we can do our canning through the concrete. So there's different uses. And one of the things that we are facing right now with the project is we have all of these units as separate units that are coming into a building, but the cladding is in the building. So we have windows and doors that need to be cut in the main building. And but because those units are linked, this plugin won't work for it. We need to get the full revision. So there's an argument that maybe it would be worthwhile. In some cases, when you have big projects with lots of stuff you have to process, it might make sense. In the meantime, we've just done it manually by placing openings around each opening in the cladding. But the takeaway, I think, is you can work with it on an individual basis. So for instance, maybe mechanical can place these within their model, and then we've got that visual reference that gets carried through the model. In terms of coordination, we can see that, yes, the bulkhead needs to be lowered or whatever other considerations, or you can see where clashes are happening. With this particular family, you can choose the third option is the void with a sleeve. So if that duct system was out, you would just see a bunch of rings floating in space. So yeah, and these are the resources. I think Margaret sent them out earlier. So basically it's just a link to the product video and then a link to downloading the app if you want to try out the app and see how it works. And Thank you. Any questions? Does anybody think that this is something that you would use?
I'm gonna use it.
Okay, so
I'm gonna use it. Ask questions while I get the next one presented, or go grab some light ski. Don't be shy.
It's more of just a comment, but just, be careful with all these tools, right? They do everything automatically. But, someone without the knowledge is not going to know, you can't just cut a hole through a column or something like that. So be careful with these tools. They are powerful, but you have to understand their limitations. What you're actually doing, don't just rely on it.
absolutely. And that's why I like this tool, because it is fully connected to the properties. So you can schedule the properties and you have minimal control over all of these. So you do need to understand what those tolerances are. And, that's really, I think, the purpose of this would be to initiate our coordination conversations with consultants. So we could look at this and think, okay, there might be something here. We better ask electrical a question to see what has to be done here. So it's not, the end all and be all for sure. Like you said, we're the designers. We still have to use our heads in thinking through all of these steps. But to take away some of the manual labor of repetitive steps, I think that's where it can really help. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary.